Sparky Coach podcast, part 3 of how to have your sharpest week. How are you, Cam?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Very good. King's long weekend, King's birthday. That was a good time, but you don't get that public holiday. What do you guys get? You got another one?
Yeah, ours is just pushed to later in the year, and we had another one a couple of weeks ago. It's sort of just the Queensland way. We like to row our own boat in our own direction. We are
Keep your
answerable to
body
no
guessing.
one.
Now, controversial subject. I only want to spend 30 seconds on this. The dropping of Cherry Evans for game 2. Yes or no?
I'm a yes. I think something's got to change. And I think, he was 30, 36 or 37 as it was. Not many players perform their best at that age. Well, actually, no one has. Full stop. Yeah, I'm happy to back Billy.
Except Tom Brady, who would be in a different code, but also in a league of his own, in that physical contact sport. And they come on for 3 minutes at a time or something ridiculous anyway.
Yeah,
So
I do like the comparison though. Like if we're going to compare, let's just pick a completely different sport. That's good. I like it.
Yeah, different country.
That's good.
Different
I think
sport.
it's exciting. I think I actually do think there should have been some other changes though as well. But that's for our sports podcast, which you can catch on a different time.
One day we should get it. Now, we also want to highlight, send us some merch. If you want to send us something, reach out on Insta. And I need some more T-shirts, some hats, some mugs. There will be zero payment for this. We just expect merch for providing the podcast. All right, anyway, the first one, I listened back to it over the weekend. It was super interesting. I thought how to have your sharpest week and what's the result. When you have a sharp week, I think the results are absolutely huge into your business. We talked last week about how to close a week successfully. So making sure you've asked yourself the right questions, you've financially closed it, you've closed it conversationally. Oh no, we didn't talk about that. We're going to talk about this week, but that was super important. How to close the week, scheduling and planning as well, which will be good times. How to make sure that your schedule is flowing and your schedule is packed to the rafters in the best way and most efficient way possible. Not too packed, but not too light, just the right carry-on luggage amount. So coming in to today, we want to talk about 2 things: conversations, so how to make sure you're wrapping up the week full of conversations, and making sure you're getting that business on time, the BOT, the B-O-T, the business on time. That's just such a... my gosh, like nothing will change your life like that. I was interesting to note, one of our members just had the most killer 6 months. Like I should actually post about it, but we don't love putting members in the spotlight. Basically on track for like an incredible result. And I think like it kind of plays into our theory that the numbers take time to work out. Nothing of substance or substantial value is built overnight. And if it is, it's probably like a really, really small percentage play. But putting time onto the business, into the business in the smartest way possible. We've all met that person at the pub that's like, oh, I tried stuff, it didn't work. I did this, it didn't work. And you know what? If you do it wrong, it doesn't work. Like if your foundations are rocky and you grow the business, the thing's going to fall down. If your foundation's built on sand and the waves come, it's going to knock it over. But if your foundation's on concrete, on the conch, you might say, the quickset, like that's you can grow. And it's not so much about how big you get or don't get. I don't think that's the important question. The important question is, are you profitable and stable, and are you living your definition of success? That's the important question to ask. And, if your foundations are set properly, you can get to 20, 30 staff profitably well. You might be the unlikely hero. You might just be like, your business might just get that phone call at the right time, that client at the right time. You might change that double GPO on a Sunday afternoon in the pelting rain for some regular punter who's not a regular punter, who owns commercial property on property on property. And then you're like, holy crap, you've got been gifted this golden ticket, Willy Wonka style, into the abyss of awesome work with low management. So you just don't know what the sort of future holds in that regard. but just tying into that, like making sure your foundations are correct. And what I wanted to say with that member who's sort of had a really solid 6 months, like we'll tick into the $1 million profit range, which is huge. $1 million profit range. I'll say that, $1 million profit range, like that's absolutely huge, and we're so thrilled to be a part of that journey. But like, if you looked back at, you know, the sort of 6 months of last year, sort of that mid to late year, like it wasn't looking so good. It was we had to find that sort of right style of work. There was an operations manager coming into the mix. There was a couple of new tradies that needed to get trained, an apprentice that probably needed to find their feet a little bit more. Like there's a couple of months in there that look red, and we call red anything under 10%. Orange is 10 to 20%. This is net profit, and then green is 20% plus. But obviously, like, there's net profit and gross profit to take into consideration. But on the net profit side, it wasn't looking so good. On the gross profit side, it was looking like okay, but we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. We were like, no, if we do this now, if we set this up now, we're gonna have a really, really killer, 6 to 12 months, and it's paid off. And I'm just like, I'm so stoked to look at those results and be like, yes, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to work hard. Yeah. We want to work smart. Yeah. We want to be kind, which is huge. And this guy is one of the kindest people you ever meet, plays into our no dickhead policy quite well. And then you want to get results. So if you can do those 4 things on repeat, work hard, work smart, be kind, get results, that's what we want to do. So anyway, coming into that, I'm like, sometimes the result doesn't look like a result in the moment. Sometimes it's like going to the gym today. If you went to the gym today or Pilates or whatever, you did a 45-minute class, you might not get a 6-pack. But the cumulative effect of going to the gym for 2 years straight, 5 days a week, you're going to have your 6-pack. And you're going to eat it too. Or maybe someone's going to eat it in the most maybe non-PG way possible. Whatever. What you do on your own time is what you do on your own time.
Chocolate sauce.
Yeah. A bit of whatever. See what happens. Just see where it leads you. But I was just super stoked to be like, just get on the journey, get on the train. But your foundations have to be correct. And just to reiterate, so many of us are busy, and I want you to start to look at it like good busy or not good busy. So good busy is like, I'm working hard, but I've also got time on the business. Bad busy is I'm just working really hard. So good busy is I'm working hard, but I'm also working smart. I'm being kind. I'm getting results. Bad busy is I'm just running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I haven't seen a result since the 2005 State of Origin series when Andrew Johns came in for game 2 and game 3. What a time to be alive. I'm actually a tool to be around my family and my staff members. I'm like, what do you mean it's 7:05? What do you mean you didn't put that in? What do you mean? So that's the bad sort of busy, and there's no working smart. So there's good busy, and then there's bad busy. But yeah, talking today, starting off like in that conversation realm. But anything to add before we roll in?
Probably one thing picked up there is the business on time, which we'll dive into a little bit more, and we touched on it. I think we put a post out on Insta the other day. 1 to 2 things a week is actually 100 items, tasks, things to do, however you want to frame it, that can be ticked off in a year. And I think that's pretty powerful in a way. And I think it really ties into what we like to preach, I guess, in extents a lot, but not so much preach. It's sort of just what we believe in, full stop, is that it's the small things that make the big difference. So it's the little things or little steps done cumulatively or done well or done repetitively, done often, however you want to frame it up. It's the small things that have the big impact. And, you can apply that to the business on time, 1 to 2 things a week, get them ticked off. There's 100 items a year. You can apply the same theory of like, if I can find 1 more billable hour a day and I've got 5 staff, there's 5 extra hours a day, which is 25 hours every single week, which is 1,300 hours in the year. So we often, I think, we'll look at the small thing, we're like, oh, well, I'm too busy to do that one item this particular week, or I'm too busy to look into that. Whereas it's that one item done every single week, or 1 to 2 items done every single, that has a really big impact. So we are going to have a dive into that, and then just tie back on the sharpest week, which we talked about recently, and tie into one of our members. I really like the word, and what I sort of resonate with a lot is like predictability. So if you look at the guys who are performing really well, and have put in the hard yards, and I probably want to preface this by saying that it's like not an overnight success. Like it's not 6-minute abs, as Crowley touched on there. It's a process over a number of years. There's often a mountain that's already been climbed once, and then you actually slide down on your ass on the other side into another valley, so to speak, and you sort of almost not start again as such, but often often there's a change or a pivot. It might be like, oh, hey, that was sort of, you don't go all the way, but things change. So it takes time, and sometimes these journeys are 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I want to really say that, because I think some people are too harsh on themselves. It's like, oh, I haven't done this in 5 minutes. When the reality is that it may take 5 years, but it's about the incremental small changes that happen along the way. So I like the predictability side of it. So that's probably the only couple of things there that I just wanted to add around to tie in.
Yeah, and also I just love what you said there about the not going to accomplish everything overnight. And this is the danger of downloading a rates calculator that you don't know how to use, and you don't even know how they got to that number in the first place. You didn't build the calculator. I'm so passionate about that. Having my head so deep in everyone's numbers, like you don't want to look at a calculator you didn't build, or you don't know how to steer. That's psycho level. Just don't do that. But also downloading your 67-point checklist or 48 ways to maximum enlightenment, all this kind of stuff. Like, there's noble and good causes, but realistically, you just want to look at what your business is not doing well. So a system or process, whatever you want to call it, just build the 2 that in front of you right now. If you build 2 every single week, that's 104 across the year, right? So a great example is this: you're looking at what's not happening, and maybe cash flow sucks. Sweet, cash flow sucks. Need something around that. Okay, I'm sending invoices once every full moon. Okay, sweet. Might want to. That's probably the reason the cash flow sucks, right? So we want to get them weekly. So Monday for the week before. Sweet. So that's what we want to do. How are we going to do that? Either I've got to set a time that, if it's me on there, or I've got to get the admin to, or the operations manager to. If it's not happening, we're not evil. We've got a problem. We want to fix it. We might be too busy. So it might mean that we're not carving out the right amount of time for the important things in the week. Or it might mean that that's got to be handballed AFL style, but bow, right, to someone else. And then they've got to do it. And we just set that up. So bam, we just created a system. Invoices being sent weekly. I just feel like in the systems and process propaganda that's coming out. Shout out to Sam for Alpha Trading. I think I stole that from him, the propaganda. But like, there's so much noise around, and it feels like such a big thing. And it's just like, work out what's going good, what's not going good, put something in place, and then change it. And bam, you build a system, right? So you forgot a PowerPoint at the rough-in stage. How? You can trace it back to maybe the variations weren't tracked properly. Maybe you were working off revision C, not revision D. Maybe that you passed it from generation to generation via ROC, and it wasn't documented. Okay, cool. How do we fix that? Let's build that in place. Okay, here's part of the rough-in checklist. Do we have the updated drawings? Has everything been written down? Have we charged for those variations? All this kind of stuff. That's what your business is screaming at you, a good or a bad result every single week. Good, let's write it down and do it again. Bad, let's write it down and not do it again. let's change the process of the whole thing. But talking about just, I think what you said before, just not belittling or despising the small beginnings or the little pathways, because it's like in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, you've got 300 systems, 400 systems. You don't need all the stuff today. You just need to focus on the most important thing that's in front of you. Like, so many people want the magic bullet. It's not going to come. It's going to come. Like, how do you climb that mountain you're talking about? You take one step at a time, one foot after the other, and sort of push forward. So I think that's a critical part of everything. But talking today about how to have your sharpest week ever in and around conversations. Huge. Where does your head first go to?
I guess probably staff is where it goes to, first and foremost. And I think most people, if we were to, let's look at it this way. So we go staff, clients, and suppliers. Let's call it the golden triangle of your business, so to speak.
The
And if
pyramid,
we
the
were to
pyramid
rank
scheme
them,
of your business.
I beg your pardon?
The pyramid scheme of your business.
The
And
pyramid
just pick
scheme of
one.
business.
Yeah.
The barter card. I'm trying. What else is there? The new way. I'm sure there's heaps. Anyway, rank them 1, 2, 3. I would probably say most people would say staff is number 3 out of that, or maybe on par. I think most people would be like the client. But to me, the conversation moves to your staff, and frequent conversations often, more times than not, will alleviate the issues that are occurring, or help alleviate or highlight the issues that are occurring. And they don't have to be in depth. They don't have to be, formal, structured conversations. It could just be pick up the phone call and, hey, saw this happened yesterday. I found out this particular way, and I always sort of believe like just communicate with them honestly. Like there's no point trying to, skirmish around behind a tree and then like bam, pop out sort of thing. It's just like, hey, I just noticed this because I was looking at the job card. What happened here? Or what did we come across there? And I think the beauty of having that conversation is that often you'll have your perspective, which is being the business owner, your perspective is generally, I'm going to say maybe a negative one, or like you're coming from a place of, I can't believe that occurred. But when you listen to the other person's perspective, or the staff member's perspective, you may be like, oh, that makes sense. That wasn't communicated to you. So how were you meant to know that, A, B, and C occurred or panned out that particular way? So communicate. The other thing too, I feel like with the communication around it all is that think about yourself. Put yourself in a situation of when things have happened to you in your life, or instances have occurred, and it's like, oh, if we just would have talked about it, like, wouldn't have been that big of a deal, or if I just would have said it. And I think there's a way that you can say things, and I've been guilty of this, is that you can say things that aren't kind. So it's about presenting it in a way that doesn't come across as aggressive, doesn't come across as mean-spirited as such, or in a way that can be taken in a context that's like, oh geez, that's probably not the best way of what I meant. So I think having the way you contextualize it, or say it to the particular staff member, can be huge. So staff members' conversations are huge, and I'm a big believer in more often, more frequent. And the amount of times that you can do that, it just alleviates that big conversation that needs to be had, which invariably, I would say most big conversations, and don't get me wrong, big conversations do need to be had as well. And generally speaking, that's an accumulative effect of, hey, we've had lots of small ones and we've seen no change, or no attempt to change, or no improvement as such. But if you're having the small ones, it also takes a weight off your shoulders. Like, oh, that's been dealt with. Has anyone ever, I'm sure everyone sat there. It's a rhetorical question because I know you can't answer back to me right now, through the pod in 4 days' time, or 4 months' time when you listen to this. That a lot of the time you let it fester, and festering conversations can be quite detrimental to you. So the conversation I lead to straight away is staff is the first one. But if I was to look at it, it's staff, the client, and the supplier, and I think they all form pivotal roles around your business. And I like to look at things as simplistically as possible. And I think if you do get a chance, jump back in if you haven't already. And if you're a regular, you would have, because we've, I guess, shouted from the rooftops of this. But Dave, Crowy's old boss from RJ Air, he really put this into a really simple context, I think, around where he places his importance, and then goes into a bit more depth around the reasoning of it all. where the conversation, or sorry, where his hierarchy, I guess, sits in the staff, client, supplier situation. And I think it's really important to have a look at it because the simplicity of it is that I think we can, we touched on it, processes, systems, and all these sorts of things. They're all really good, but ultimately, I think if you can keep your business as simple as possible, it's then simple to execute as well. Whereas if you've got to climb a mountain with a backpack up and then go up a tree house and stand at the top and send an paper airplane to accept a job, it's not simple. So having to think about how can I actually make things more simple in my business, and I think it really starts with what's important to the business overall. And I think if you look at the golden triangle of staff, suppliers, and the clients, that's literally the glue. Yeah, there's probably an outer circle that you could dive into, but those three items there really, also those three areas really, I think, are the most important to focus on, because without any of those three, and they go in a, they could go anti-clockwise, clockwise, they could go whichever way you want. If you don't have them in play and dialed in, it's pretty hard to have a business. And I'm going to stop it there and then pass over to Crow in a second. But if you've got the workload, but you don't have the staff to execute that workload, we've got a problem. If you've got the staff, but you don't have the workload, there's going to be a problem, obviously, because people are just going to be standing around. If you've got the staff and the workload, for example, but you've got average suppliers, it's going to be affecting your efficiency on site, which in turn will affect the relationships with your clients because you're not executing on time. But also, too, I think this is really important, that the effect that it can have on your staff, that a lot of people don't realize this with suppliers, is that if they turn up to a job and there's like no gear and it's consistently occurring, it's like, who's running this? Who's running this show? It's chaos. So they actually all work in together.